Hi everybody, welcome to my channel and welcome to my homestead. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like this video if you like it, and hit the notification bell for future updates. So it looks like my plan worked and my calves are laying down in the hay that I laid down yesterday, which is really good because it's gonna help keep them clean and not laying down near poop, so that they can stay healthy. And this morning they took their bottles just fine. There was the one yesterday that she initially didn't take the bottle, and so that got me worried. She did about 45 minutes later, which made me feel better. And then this morning they both took the bottles just fine, so I'm pretty happy about that. Not only that, but yesterday they were actually like running around and playing, so they definitely have energy. It doesn't seem like anyone feels like they're sick, so it's a good deal. So yeah, you know, I'm up really early right now. I don't have to be, if it wasn't for my kids going to school. And that's what I wanted to talk about today was school. You know, we actually tried to do homeschooling for a year and didn't do a very good job at it. The idea was we wanted our kids to be home. You know, we feel like that's the place for them. It's the place for all of us. I made a lot of sacrifices basically so that my wife wouldn't have to work. Ever since we had our first child, she never had to work. And that's just one of our values. You know, we feel like mom should be at home while the kids are little, and maybe once they're in like junior high or high school, once everybody's in junior high or high school, which she doesn't want to work, but if she did, then that's when she would go back to work. I think it's really important that ideally, honestly, the whole family would be at home, but that's just not the way that this fallen world works. At least one person needs to work and earn money and needs to be able to provide for the family, you know. I think it was a beautiful thing back when most people were farmers and just the whole family could work on the farm or the ranch, and everybody kind of chip in. I think that was a really good setup. But as civilizations quote unquote progressed, there's more jobs in the city and lots of other types of work that needs to be done, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's just sad when I think it's sad when both parents work. I know sometimes that may be inevitable, but you know, it's just like, I really think that if possible, just the man should work. Just because I think a mother's influence on her children is so important. It was for me when I was growing up. Thankfully, my dad was able to make enough money to where my mom didn't have to work. And I really think that it really affected and influenced me and my brother. And I wanted that same thing for our kids. And that's what we're doing. That was actually one of my values before I even got married. I prayed to Heavenly Father. Like I seriously prayed that somehow in some way I'd be able to do it. And I honestly didn't believe that it would be possible, but he answered my prayer, and he guided me to a couple key jobs to where I was able to do it. And now we're here in Kansas, and we're like in the most optimal situation that there's no way, there's absolutely no way that I could have planned this. Not at all. What I'm doing now for work, this job didn't even exist, you know, when I was on my mission or in my early marriage, but Heavenly Father knew that it was going to exist. So, you know, in the meantime, I worked for a major credit card company in Utah, and that paid good enough for us to, you know, we started out in apartments, and that wasn't a big deal. It's okay to start out and not be in the best living situation. We still were able to make our apartments home. And then I joined the Army, and that made it really easy for us to survive. Everyone says that soldiers and other service members don't get paid very much, and like technically that's true. You know, as far as like your actual paychecks, it's not like big, but when you take that along with your housing allowance, you know, whether you live on post or off post, you actually do. As a junior soldier, I figured it all out, and I was making around I think it was like 42,000 as a specialist. So that wasn't bad, and we were able to stay out of debt and provide for all of our needs, you know. And then I got out of the Army, and I continued my hobby that I was doing on the side, which was graphic design. And after I got out, I was going to school, and it actually got to the point where I was making enough to where we could survive off of what I was doing. And so I stopped going to school, and I've been doing graphic design ever since. So it's really kind of amazing. I really think that, you know, when you have righteous desires, you know, and I do think it's a righteous desire for a mother and a father to want for the mother to be able to stay home and raise the family. Heavenly Father will honor that and will make it work for you. You know, I can't make that a promise, obviously, but I really do think that with faith, mountains can be moved and rivers can be turned out of their course, right? So, but yeah, you know, so now I don't work for anybody. I don't have a schedule. I'm the one that sets my own schedule. It does take a lot of discipline, I will say that. So like whenever you're self-employed, like no one's there to tell you what to do. So it may not be for everybody, but it's a beautiful thing, and I love it. And the only thing that I don't love is that my kids are in the school system, and we have to wake up to take one of our girls to school. Thankfully, the other one is now taking the bus, because the bus will pick them up if they're in high school, but here in town is where the elementary is, and they won't send a bus unless you live outside of town. But for the high school is not in town, so that's why they send a bus for the junior high and high school. But you know, I just think about this world that we live in, and it's all like set, like right now, the way that the world is, and specifically here in America, it's all set up to you know, turn you into a worker, essentially, like a worker, like almost like a cog in the machine. You know what I mean? And I know that, like, obviously things were kind of more brutal, like being a farmer, but like when you're doing it for yourself, or like, because like farmers, you know, they're essentially self-employed. You know, if you own a farm and it's a family farm and you're selling your crops, like you're doing it yourself. But when you have to work for somebody else, you just feel like just a piece of a big machine. And you know, I don't need to tell you, that's not really that good of a feeling. And so it sucks that, you know, basically I've been freed from that, but I still, you know, have to suffer the consequences, or I have to suffer from my kids having to go to school. And like I said, we tried to do homeschool, but we didn't do a very good job at that. And you know, I think it's great for those who are able to do homeschool. It's not necessarily for everybody, you know, but I think that it's a really good thing for those that have the strength and motivation to do it. For us, it was just a little bit too much. You know, obviously the benefits of doing homeschool is you can teach your kids more your values and not have so much influence from the schools. And you know, some schools and teachers are great and you don't really need to worry about that, but in other places they're really trying to push an agenda. So I get why some people homeschool. You know, there's lots of different reasons to homeschool, but you know, there's also benefits to going to school. It allows your child to get exposed to those other ideas that aren't so good, and maybe practice resisting that. Because even if your kid doesn't go to homeschool, you can still teach them your values just fine. You know, if you're spending an appropriate amount of time together as a family, like you should. You know, I don't think that going to public schools is going to be, you know, be necessarily that big of a deal if you teach your kids right. And I feel like we have, and I feel like they do a really good job sticking to their values, choosing good friends, and being an example. You know, because that's another thing. We can't necessarily withdraw from society because we're called to be a light to the world. You know what I mean? And I'm not making the case against homeschool. I'm just saying that that's one of the good things about going to public school is being able to be an example to others and possibly do missionary work, because you can definitely do that as a child. You know? So, I'm not saying either one is right or wrong, because I don't think that you can say that in general. It's a very individual thing, and it requires prayer, may require some fasting, but yeah, those are just my thoughts today. I hate waking up early, I always have, and it just, this morning I'm really tired, and it just kind of sucks that we're in this kind of system of just production, and you know, that's also not necessarily a bad thing, but I think sleep is really important, and yeah, you can go to bed early, but that's not always the easiest thing to do. And you know, I really don't like the alarm clock, you know, not just for the obvious reasons, but like, it just, you know, it's not natural. You know, our bodies need sleep, and I think our bodies know when to wake up and how much sleep to get. You can obviously overdo it, like maybe you'll wake up and then fall back asleep, but I just, you know, artificially limiting the amount of sleep that you get, I don't know if I'm for that necessarily. I really don't. You know, maybe there's our silky rooster crowing. You know, maybe early to bed, early to rise, but that doesn't, I don't think that necessarily means, and that's like in the scriptures, I think that's in Doctrine and Covenants, but I don't think that necessarily means like, you know, limit the amount of sleep that you get with an alarm clock. But I don't know, everyone's gonna have a different opinion about that. Either way, sleep is really important, and if you need to, I think that you should go to bed earlier. That's what we're doing to help ensure that we get enough sleep. But yeah, so anyway, I'm gonna let you go now. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Like the video if you liked it. Hit the notification bell. I'm gonna do a lot more videos about homesteading, signs of the times, second coming, narcissism, and other topics. And I will talk to you next time.